this is Kermit the Frog.
Fascinating. I'm Captain Kirk.
Magic is always there, as long as we keep looking for it.
Engage.
What does God need with a starship?
Thank you, love you. Mwah.
I protest. I am not a merry man.
Places, please. And here we go.
Down at Fraggle Rock.
Welcome, Doozers, Gorgs, Trash Heaps, Tellarites, and Things to episode 166 of MuppeTrek Podcast. I'm Jarman.
And I'm Steve. We're on a journey across the stars to compare and contrast the creative worlds of Jim Henson and Gene Roddenberry.
And what started as reviews of The Muppet Show and Star Trek the original series has expanded to outer space.
And this week we have Fraggle Rock episode Doomsday Soup and Star Trek The Next Generation episode Yesterday's Enterprise.
That's right. But before we do that, Steve, I want to rock.
There are all kinds of gems, jewels, and geodes in the world, many of which can be found in Fraggle Rock. And this week's gem is Felspar. I almost got it wrong.
Good
Felspar. It comes from the German word Feldspat, which means field stone, because it's a very common stone. In ancient times, it was used to make tools in parts of construction, often used in mortar or stones for buildings. And then in the 18th century, it became a huge part of glass making and ceramics making. Felspar is not rare at all. It literally makes up 50% of the Earth's crust. 50% of the ground below us is Felspar, so not rare. And it's even all over the moon. Most of the moon is Felspar. There are some types that can be valuable with certain varieties you've probably heard of, such as moonstone, labradorite, and sunstone are all versions of Felspar that are semi-precious, though not mega precious.
See, I've heard of those. I'd never heard the term feldspar, even though it takes up 50% of our Earth's crust.
50% of the ground beneath us is Felspar. But that's Felspar, and that rocks.
Yeah.
What's going down in Fraggle Rock? Well, what's up, Doc? Doc is spring cleaning and even getting rid of Sprocket's dog bowl. Sprocket hears an awful noise from the plumbing, and Doc does pipe surgery, but can't figure out how to stop the leak. Well, what's going down in Fraggle Rock? Boober is cracking radishes on a pipe for his gumbo, radish gumbo. That's the banging that Doc hears. But laundry is on hold and everyone needs same-day laundry service. Boober heads to the Gorg's garden when he realizes he doesn't have radishes for the radish gumbo, and he is resolute to head out to the Gorg's garden, but he finds Pa Gorg sleeping at the cave entrance. Boober chickens out, goes back to the rock, and decides that he can use rutabaga instead. Gobo mistakes the laundry for gumbo. The gumbo tastes awful due to lack of radishes, and they sing a song, Dump the Stuff, about how bad the food is and they should just dump it out. And the worst part is the laundry isn't done either. Joke line. Boober goes to dump out his laundry water, and it combines with the soup and begins to sparkle and glow. Meanwhile, Gobo reads Uncle Traveling Matt's postcard where he experiences speedy food, but it doesn't seem to move very quickly. Boober comes in with the soup, which is turning things invisible, and they realize they can use it to stealthily raid radishes from the Gorg's garden. Everyone slips on some soup and disappears one by one. They steal some radishes after a close encounter with Junior and make it back to the rock. They celebrate their success with a song, A Fraggle You Can't See, about all the mischief and joy of being invisible. But then Boober's bucket begins to rumble and glow. It erupts, causing shakes and tremors throughout all of Fraggle Rock. They rush to get the Doomsday Gumbo out of Fraggle Rock, but Boober gets caught in the Gorg's garden. Junior steals the soup, and Boober makes a run for it. The others thank Boober for saving them and are happy to have their laundry done. In the Gorg's garden, the Gorgs are spring cleaning themselves. Ma is trying to get rid of things before Pa wakes up and tries to keep everything because he's definitely a hoarder. Pa wakes up just in time to maintain his hoard, and he just keeps trying to hold on to things as Ma keeps cleaning things out, and Junior is kind of stuck in the middle. Junior sings a lively song, Spring Cleaning, a jive tune lamenting the boringness of cleaning up. He comes upon some radishes floating and seemingly running through the garden. He thinks they're alive and they can talk. Well, they tell him he's doing a great job with the garden, and they run off because they're magic radishes. Later, a Fraggle shows up with some rutabaga gumbo. Pa drinks it and bounces up and down as he explodes internally and steam rises from his ear. Junior tosses the soup, which explodes all of the items in the pile that Ma was cleaning out, hence defeating Pa's horde. And what do Doozers do this week? They experience an earthquake and a catastrophic failure, which collapses multiple buildings and likely kills at least a few Doozers. That's what Doozers do this week.
But it's the best day of their life because now they get to rebuild everything.
They get to rebuild everything. They don't even have time to mourn the dead.
That's terrible.
So, Jarman, what did you think of this week's episode of Fraggle Rock Doomsday Soup?
I thought it was a cute episode and some good special effect opportunities, but I noticed that after watching it, it took some reflection. I'm like, oh, there was no real message or lesson to be learned from this episode, which is kind of an odd thing for really Fraggle Rock. So I don't know how to feel about that, because that's like a lot of modern day TV shows are, slandered for that because they don't have a message, and this Fraggle Rock usually does. It was weird. There was just like a fun, silly episode. So I don't know, just kind of forgettable to me. I don't know. Not a whole lot to say.
I'm going to agree. None of the music was a major standout.
No.
The plot this is my issue, is so much plot can be fixed and the story can be driven with movement from one place to another. But there were literally multiple times Boober's going to go to the Gorg's Garden. I can't go to the Gorg's Garden. The Fraggles finally sneak out to the Gorg's Garden. Great. They got to go back for some reason. It was
back to their room.
Story forward. Stop going back and forth to the same friggin' place and not advance the story. That plus the music, I'm going to say this is probably in the lower half for this season.
I also just happened to I don't usually read trivia for Fraggle Rock episodes, but I happened to read that this particular episode had a different musical director than all the rest for the season, just because he was
you can kind of feel it.
Yeah, he was out or sick or something for this episode. So it's forgettable. So this is randomly kind of bottom of the barrel for me. It's not bad. It wasn't just offensive or something. It just didn't live up to the rest of the standards of this season.
No, I can absolutely agree. In fact, I'm going to make a note of it right now.
That's a good thought.
Doomsday Soup. Okay, now it's in my notes that it was maybe not the best one. Let's see. Trek Facts.
The Trek Facts.
Nope. Where am I at?
Silly creatures.
Best Muppeteering? Nope. Where the fuck are those silly creatures up to?
Where are we? What's happening?
I clicked way too far in my notes.
Let's just jump to Trek Facts for some reason.
Uncle Traveling Matt is taking in some very speedy food. Really what he's looking at is a fast food establishment, which he misunderstands. Well, fast food is very much an invention in the 20th century U.S., with the first major chain that stretched across more than a few states being White Castle, which still exists to this day in some places. But it wasn't till those crazy McDonald brothers came along that modern fast food as we know it was born. You mix this with a post-World War II era where we saw the rise of car culture, and suddenly you get dine-in dining service. You get drive-ins in the 70s, and from there, fast food just exploded. And not just in the U.S., it eventually extended around the world, and I've got some interesting things from around the world in fast food. This is one of the more commonly known ones. In Japan, there was a deeply successful marketing campaign that convinced Japanese culture, which was at the time being widely Americanized, that Americans have KFC for Christmas.
What?
And it was so successful that it has become a Japanese tradition, and KFCs sell out every Christmas in Japan.
Random.
Because of this incredibly successful marketing campaign to convince them that's what Americans do. Another interesting fact, the global fast food market is currently worth about $800 billion a year, and by 2032 is projected to be worth $1.2 trillion yearly worldwide for fast food.
Damn.
And what's driving all that? Well, some crazy food items. I got some interesting ones from around the globe. The Bannerito, which is popular in Cyprus. It is a banana covered in chocolate sauce, wrapped in a tortilla, and hit with rainbow sprinkles. It's like a dessert burrito.
Like a crepe almost.
Kind of. In Germany, you can get a Bismarck sandwich featuring herring, pickles, white onion slices, all on a baguette. Just stinky breath. Stinkiest breath.
Otto von Bismarck would be proud.
KFC has a lot of crazy ones. In the Philippines, you can pick up a chiza, which is a pizza that is made on top of a flattened fried chicken cutlet. That's the crust. The crust is a flattened fried chicken cutlet.
Cool.
And if apples aren't for you, in Thailand at McDonald's, you can get a sweet corn pie instead of the classic apple.
Oh.
But nothing beats KFC Indonesia, where you can get a glazed donut covered in cheddar and Swiss cheese.
No.
I kid you not. The picture is disturbing. It is deeply disturbing. So yeah, that's what those silly creatures are up to. Uncle Traveling Matt was taking in some fast food.
Nice.
But Jarman, what did you think was the best Muppeteering moment this week?
As I was writing this down, I saw that you had also written the same thing, so we can just both talk about it. I think
we're talking about different moments, though, so that's exciting to me.
No, I think, just the idea that they have radishes moving up and down and playing with the invisibility stuff, but mostly because they're kind of like marionettes, basically, at that point. I think probably on strings and pulling things.
Oh, you can see sticks under them.
Oh, sticks under them.
It's just
okay.
puppeteers down here with a stick
so
doing
it's under,
this.
not above. I thought they moved like their mouths or something. There wasn't mouths on them. I'm imagining that there was mouths on them. So
No.
But the green screen effects
I love
were
the
good
same
too.
moment. It was so simple and took no technical effort for them to just take some radishes and put them on sticks and have this whole scene communicated so well between the Fraggles and Junior.
That's how well it was communicated.
Little vibrations.
That my brain later on made up that there was not only marionettes holding up, but also mouths on those radishes, that none of that existed, but that's how well they did it.
No. Yeah, but it was so simple. Like somebody from accounting looked at it and went, oh, thank God, that's cheap.
Yeah. Oh, and we're only using 2 locations this episode, their room and the Gorg Garden. That's it.
Yeah, they're just going to keep going back and forth between the two. Oh, thank God.
Nice and cheap.
Well, Jarman, what happened on this week's episode of Star Trek The Next Generation?
All right, so we have a very popular, famous episode, Yesterday's Enterprise. The Enterprise randomly encounters a strange temporal rift, and suddenly pops out the Enterprise C, a ship that by all historical records was destroyed decades earlier while defending a Klingon outpost from a Romulan attack. But the moment it crosses through, reality rewrites itself because that attack never happened, and the Enterprise D suddenly transforms into this warship, and the Federation has been locked in a losing war with the Klingons for 20 years. So everyone immediately changes over to this different kind of alternate future. Nobody notices this change except our wonderful Guinan, who always has a sense of strange things happening, and also, her fight with the Q as well. And she can't explain how she knows, but she is absolutely certain that none of this is supposed to be happening. So she corners Picard in his ready room and tells him that the entire world is wrong. And he ultimately does believe her, even though he fights her back and forth a bit, because she's never lied to him, and she's pretty much always right, because she's really wise, and she's been around for like 900 years. The Enterprise C's crew is led by Captain Rachel Garrett, a great guest actress. They're very disoriented about walking into a war zone decades in the future. A lot of them are injured from the battle that was happening. So the crew of the Enterprise D tells them what's going on. They said if the Enterprise C, they eventually figure this out. If the Enterprise C goes back through the rift and finishes what it started, and probably dying defending the Klingon outpost, the sacrifice of the Klingons see them sacrificing themselves will be enough of a gesture of goodwill that the Klingons never go to war with them in the first place. So the timeline everyone should be living in will get restored, but if they don't go back, the war will grind on and the Federation will probably lose, because Picard confides in her that they're losing this battle. Meanwhile, Tasha Yar is back. So in this timeline, she's alive. She never died from that terrible swamp creature back in the day. The quick, meaningless death. But she finds out from Guinan, because Guinan's giving her some weird looks, that she actually is supposed to be dead in the real timeline. And Tasha doesn't take that very well. And she decides that if she's going to die either way, she'd rather go out doing something that actually matters. So she requests a transfer to Picard to the Enterprise C to go back with them and probably die. But it also helps that she's quickly falling in love for Shooter McGavin, who is the first officer of the Enterprise
Shooter.
C. He's like the Riker of the Enterprise C, and man, is he smarmy as ever. It's a perfect role for this guy. But Captain Garrett is killed during a Klingon ambush in this current timeline. So it leaves the Enterprise C in the hands of Shooter McGavin. So Picard makes the call. The Enterprise C has to go back, and everyone on it is probably going to die. But suddenly the Enterprise D has a run-in with some Klingons coming in with all their birds of prey. So they're fighting them off as the Enterprise C is trying to jump through the rift. And basically the Enterprise D is being completely destroyed. But as soon as the Enterprise C goes through the rift, bam, they all transfer back. There's no war. They don't remember anything. The timeline goes back into place. And basically the episode ends pretty quickly after that. It's kind of funny. It's like, oh, what's happening? Nothing happened. That rift disappeared. And that's the end of the episode. So, Steve, what do you think of this episode?
Okay. So some things I liked. Great Worf opening. And I know now why they did it. It's because he was going to disappear for the rest of the episode.
Yes.
So him and Guinan, I thought that was great. Good suspenseful reveal. And then suddenly Tasha Yar was back, which was kind of nice. I thought they communicated a lot very well with very little subtle lighting changes, camera changes. Once they were in the new timeline or whatever, everything got much closer, much more claustrophobic,
darker
in the way they shot it. So that was communicated very, very well. But then I got really confused as to what the premise is, to the point where I had to rewatch part of the episode because I thought they were meeting a different version of themselves. But instead, they actually, by that ship coming back, it caused them to have a complete shift in reality.
Right.
And an entirely different history. And that was hard because it's hard to believe that so little would be different. I know Tasha Yar was there.
Right.
I get that was a big difference.
Worf is gone.
It was hard for me to believe that there would be so much the same.
And what makes it, I think, the most confusing, and why I had that same feeling initially, because I didn't quite remember how this episode went down, is when as soon as that ship pops out of the rift in the beginning of the episode, it like cuts to the new Picard, the new ship. And so you think they're cutting to the ship that just came out of the rift, the way they cut it.
Right.
And so it was,
right.
It was
that
confusing.
Is exactly what I thought. And then suddenly there was another captain and I was like, wait, hold on. Where's our crew?
Yeah.
And that is when I had to go back and rewatch because I was deeply confused.
If this was shot modern day, we would see like an effect of the ship transforming. And then you'd be like, oh, that's what's happening. As opposed to them cutting and all of a sudden we think we're on the other ship and it's a different crew. It was
and Tasha Yar is there.
Yeah.
I did like the idea of Guinan not being displaced in all of this somehow.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's how I finally figured out, like at some point about 2/3 of the way through, I realized it was like all causation. So by that ship disappearing and it was assumed gone, that somehow kicked off the war that then they have been in for 20 years in this time.
Because the Klingons never saw their sacrifice and never realized that the Federation's on their side. Yeah.
Right. But then by sending them back, it fixed the timeline immediately. That does follow some other time travel rules we've seen in Star Trek. So in that regard, I can at least say they did a good job continuity-wise. Because the whole thing in First Contact is that, they follow the Borg ship through whatever the hell the time rift was. And because they are in this temporal vortex thing, they are immune, but the world outside of them is now, what if the Borg made it back?
Right.
And that's why they have to pursue. So like in that way, I was like, okay, they at least they're playing by their own rules and I can at least get on board with that. Tasha Yar was real, just a real confusing thing to resolve. Not that she was there, but the fact that she chose to go back to a timeline where she knew she would be killed instead of staying in a timeline where she wouldn't exist and also be killed was just strange for me.
I think she said she thought she had hope of actually possibly living if she went back. But if they went back without her and died anyway, she would just disappear. And
here's the thing, though. They can't make it. In the timeline that we start in, that ship has been missing for like 20 years, right?
I think so, yeah.
Or no, is that the new timeline?
I don't know.
Hold on, because if she goes back and saves them, that changes everything in a different way.
Because they're supposed to blow up and die, whereas in the war timeline, they just disappeared. But in the real timeline, they're supposed to just die.
Yeah.
So, like, if she saves them and they win, That could be a whole different timeline entirely. Yeah.
Right. And then in theory, by her going back there are now 2 Tasha Yars in this universe, which causes other major issues.
Like a 10-year-old Tasha Yar and a 30-year-old Tasha Yar.
Right. So it's hard for me to think that Picard would agree to this and there wouldn't be other repercussions. And so because of that, my assumption has to be that she went back knowing she was going to die.
Yeah.
But in that case, she already knew she was going to die. So I didn't get it. I didn't get what the payoff was besides she wanted the chance to bone Shooter McGavin. That was like the only thing.
Don't we all? I mean, that's just the thing.
Yes, that is correct. It's that hair. So some mixed feelings on this one. Once again, I thought the premise was in some ways very successfully delivered, but I found myself deeply confused for large chunks of the episode.
That's fair.
So it's going to end up middle of the road because I had such diametric feelings about the same episode.
Yeah, I think there's been better, straightforward written episodes than this one, actually. I think we're both going against the grain here because this is such a critically acclaimed episode. But
Really? People like this?
Yeah, people love this episode. It's in the, I'll have trivia about it later, but yeah, people love this episode. And
people like head cheese too. People are idiots.
I think it is nice. I think fans really liked it, probably for nostalgia purposes, kind of where they like that Yar gets a proper send off and where she gets to do something.
I will say, this was Tasha Yar's best episode. If they had written her in her original run as well as they wrote her in this episode, she wouldn't have had to leave the show. She's
incredibly competent, confident. She's not talking about her past the entire time and it's just like making her seem like
three-dimensional. There's stakes for her. This is the episode that Tasha Yar deserved. And maybe that's the reason this episode exists. And maybe that's enough.
Maybe. And I liked it a little bit more just because a lot of Guinan. I love Guinan episodes where she's really featured. She's just amazing. Whoopi Goldberg does an awesome job.
I don't know. We just came off of Q Who, and that's such a good, strong Guinan episode that I was like, yeah, this one's just
she has less screen time in that one, but she is in it. So that is good.
That is true. But she has that one pivotal scene. It's just great.
It's really good. And there's a lot of good, everyone gets a little bit moment to shine in this episode. Like the ensemble, which is, I love that this is the prune juice conversation you were talking about in the beginning where he's like, prune juice, a warrior's
drink of warriors.
Yeah. So that is good. So I think, it's not my highest either. I think it's probably middle of the road for me, but like a little higher middle for me because it's well, I mean, what they had is well executed, but you're right. It wasn't as straightforward and clear.
Highs were high, lows were low. And so because of that ends up somewhere in the middle.
That's fair. Well, we got some good Trek facts for this one because it is popular. So there's some good facts for it. At the 50th anniversary Star Trek convention in Las Vegas, fans voted this as the 5th best episode of the entire Star Trek franchise.
False.
I don't
wrong.
Agree with that. There's 5 better episodes in the original series.
I can already think of 5 episodes I like more than this.
You're right about the different subtle changes that they made for the war version of the Enterprise. The ambient noise level above the ship was increased in the alternate timeline. Consoles and displays were made more audible. The warp engines made a dull roar sound. Intra-ship communication announcements increased, and the doors made a swoosh sound reminiscent of the sound effect used in the original Star Trek series. And set lighting was also significantly changed and darkened. So they did a lot of cool, subtle things there. Though it takes place in an alternate timeline, this marks the first time that Wesley Crusher is seen wearing a Starfleet uniform. He will later on, but this is the first time we see it.
That's true. And we have not seen a ton of Wesley this season.
Yeah.
Kind of in general. So it was good to see him.
A lot less Deus Ex Wesley going on these days. The episode won an Emmy Award for outstanding sound editing, which makes sense. It had a lot of cool sound stuff. This is Denise Crosby's favorite episode. Of course, it's Tasha Yar's moment to shine, so it's her favorite episode.
Good for her.
Yesterday's Enterprise wound up needing to be filmed ahead of schedule in order to accommodate the availability of both Denise Crosby and Whoopi Goldberg. Writers initially expressed concern that putting a rush on finishing the script would result in poor or ineffective qualities in the story. And maybe that's some of what we're seeing that people are ignoring, but we're seeing some just unclear stuff going on. In the original script, each alternate Enterprise regular crew member was to be seen killed during the final battle with the Klingons. Notably, Data was to be electrocuted. Wesley was to be decapitated. However, time and budget constraints, as well as concerns about the graphic nature, resulted in a reduction of the scene with only Riker's death depicted on screen. And he was like gashed in the neck or whatever. In an early draft of the script for this episode, the Klingon commander who demands the Enterprise surrender that we hear at the end, like a voice over the intercom, they were going to reveal that it was actually Worf. That was the Klingon commander and the other bird of prey that was like, surrender. That would have been really cool, actually. I'm sad they didn't include that. Ronald D. Moore, who of Battlestar Galactica fame, who was writing on this episode, he said, "We brought Denise Crosby back to kill off Tasha Yar a second time. It was a great opportunity to send the character off in a big heroic sacrifice because nobody was really happy with the way she left the series in the first season in Skin of Evil. Nobody on the show really liked it. The fans didn't like it. I'm not sure she even really liked it. So yesterday's Enterprise was a chance to kill her right." And did they do that? Ish. I mean, kind of gave her kind of a noble death, I guess. In the alternative timeline, Picard is wearing brown contact lenses to make his character darker, which I did not notice that he had brown eyes. That's interesting.
I just thought it was the lighting.
Yeah, me too. I didn't really notice. And there's some fun Trek facts.
Apparently that's what happens when starships disappear and interrupt timelines. You get color eye changes.
Your eyes change. That's what happens.
That seems convenient.
So, Steve, we got Trek connections for this one.
Oh, boy, do I. Of course, you've got Shooter McGavin himself, Christopher McDonald, playing Lieutenant Sergeant Castillo. Best known, I said Shooter McGavin, Happy Gilmore. He recently made an appearance as a golfer in Netflix's Axel F, which featured Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who was in an episode of the 2015 Muppet series called Going Gonzo.
Oh.
And Chris McDonald's also shown up on Sesame Street.
I didn't know that. Wow.
And then because there were no other good ones, I had to go to Whoopi Goldberg, who's always a good. She's a longtime friend of the Muppets. Lots of Sesame Street appearances. It's a very Merry Muppet Christmas movie. She was on Muppets Tonight. She's been on tons and tons and tons of Muppet stuff. So when in doubt, Whoopi Goldberg.
Absolutely.
But it makes sense because these were the same episode.
Same exact episode. Both have episode titles that are extremely literal, saying exactly what the episode is about. Yesterday's Enterprise and Doomsday Soup.
Both feature characters phasing in and out of existence. The Enterprise C warping through time and Fraggles using rutabaga gumbo to disappear.
That's very true. Both have an accidental mixture of reactions causing a catastrophe. The soup in Fraggle Rock and the space battle causing the time rift to make this whole thing happen in the first place.
Yeah, it was basically my same one. Both feature sudden explosions and failures. Enterprise C and then Doc's pipes bursting, though.
That's different. Yeah, that's true. Both have someone overcoming their fears to solve the problem of the episode and come out on top. Tasha Yar over her fear of dying in the past on the Enterprise C, and Boober over his fear of going into the Gorg's garden.
See, mine's very, very similar. Both sets of characters and crews are saved by a single character having a bad feeling. Guinan feeling like the timeline was wrong, and Boober having a bad feeling about the gumbo.
That's fair. Yeah. That's very true. Oh, God. What's that noise?
Transporter malfunction. Transporter malfunction.
Run around, crazy. Now's the time in our episode where we take one character from one of the episodes and switch them with somebody else in the other one, and vice versa. So what you got for us, Steve?
All right. This week, Trek to Rock, I'm going to bring over Tasha Yar and have her replace Junior Gorg, trying to do her duty and then falling in love with a visiting radish. Mostly, I just wanted to give Denise Crosby more screen time. That's I don't have a good swap for her. I just think she deserves it.
She deserves it. Trek to Rock, I'd bring Dr. Crusher over to replace Boober. She could use science to safely synthesize the soup and mass produce it so the Fraggles should just go invisible all the time safely without blowing up.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's what science is for.
That's right.
Rock to Trek, I'm going to bring over the soup and replace the space anomaly, glowing wildly and then shifting people in and out of existence while causing rumbles.
And blowing up eventually.
Yeah, and then eventually just blowing up.
Similarly, I'm just going to bring the Doomsday Soup over to cover the Enterprise C so that it can go back to the past and be invisible and kick some Romulan ass and then blow up if they have to kill all the Romulans. So it worked out well.
Amen.
Amen. But that brings us to the end of episode 166 of the MuppeTrek Podcast.
Join us next time for Fraggle Rock episode, A Cave of One's Own.
And Star Trek The Next Generation episode, The Offspring.
So, from the lovers, the dreamers, and us,
live long and prosper, everyone.
Thanks for listening to the MuppeTrek Podcast. Be sure to follow us on social media on Facebook and Twitter.
Subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, or your favorite podcast platform.
This podcast has been brought to you by A Play on Nerds.